We've already gotten you the updates on Nykaa. What a stellar listing that was. But there's also big news on Zomato, and it's not just the earnings that are in focus. There's a huge deal that is brewing, and Nayantara Rai is joining in to tell you all of the exclusive details. Nayantara, what are you picking up? Okay, well, it seems like we got Nayantara on a bit of a patchy line, but there are significant updates as far as Zomato is concerned. Remember, the company listed not too long back, and it is going to be announcing its earnings today. We've got exclusive details that Nayantara has just gotten, and it is in the M&A space, significant updates there. I want to, though, just go across to Gaurav, if I may. Do you have enough on the charts, Gaurav, to look at Zomato and to see how it's been trading? Okay, we've got Nayantara back. Nayantara, it seems we got you on a bit of a patchy line. I told the viewers that you've got exclusive details for us on Zomato in the M&A space. What are you picking up?
It looks like Zomato's big boss, Deepinder Goyal, and of course the newly listed company have learned from their first investors, Sanjeev Bikhchandani, Hitesh Oberoi, as well as Info Edge India. It seems like Zomato wants to start investing in a slew of internet companies, and that's where we get to this big ET Now news break. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier this year, in January, Zomato had acquired the sports discovery startup Fitzo for 80 crore rupees. It is now selling that to CureFit for $50 million. So that's the kind of money it's going to be making on this investment. But it doesn't stop there. We understand from our sources that Zomato in turn will also be investing $100 million in CureFit. CureFit is the country's largest online fitness platform. It was started by, a startup veteran, Mukesh Bansal, who recently has also signed an MOU with Tata Digital, where, Tata Digital may also be investing in CureFit. Mukesh Bansal is already on the board of Tata Digital as well. So that's a big one that you're hearing about. Zomato likely to invest $100 million in CureFit. That's after it divests Fitzo for about $50 million. Of course, we reached out to all of the parties. They did not agree to respond. What's also crucial to note is that you could see this announcement being made later today. Today is when the Zomato board will be meeting for its quarterly results, and the expectation is that this $100 million deal with CureFit could be announced along with the earnings. But it just doesn't stop there, and we at ET Now get to other exclusive details. There are at least 2 more startups that Zomato may announce investments in again today with its earnings. The first one is Shiprocket. Shiprocket is a logistics company, and it delivers intracity, intercity as well. It's primarily B2B, and that's what we understand Zomato is likely to be investing in this as well, where it will be picking up a 8% stake and investing 557 crore rupees. The other one is MagicPin. MagicPin is a hyper-local commerce platform. It was started actually by former partners of the VC firm Lightspeed. Deepinder Goyal, the big boss of Zomato, is incidentally on the board of MagicPin. This one could be a 16% stake for 300 crore rupees. So like I started off by saying, it looks like Deepinder Goyal and Zomato have learned from their first ever investor, Sanjeev Bikhchandani and Info Edge India. Zomato looking to invest in a slew of startups. We're getting you exclusive details on 3 of them.
All right, thank you for that, Nayantara, for the big exclusive on Zomato, that it is actually looking at new age startups, and 3 of them is what Nayantara is picking up from her sources. All right, on that note, let's begin with our query segment. We have a slew of queries actually pending for us to address. Let me kickstart that with our experts, Gaurang Shah as well as Gaurav Bissa. With this first query is coming in from Soumitra, and he wants a view on Britannia. He wants a technical view, particularly on Britannia. He's asking whether it's worth holding for a longer time frame, as the stock hasn't done much in the last year. What's your take, Gaurav? Does it make sense for Soumitra to stay put with his holding in Britannia? Like he said, in the last 1 year, the stock has not moved much. Gaurav, this one is for you.
Yeah. If you look at the weekly charts, then you will realize that there was a very strong breakout that we saw around levels of 3,500, 3,400, and since then it has been retesting those levels and going up. So, in my opinion, if one can hold for a longer period of time, then this is a very fantastic stock to hold. It's trading above the major moving averages as well, so one can keep holding it. Nevertheless, the stop loss for this would be anywhere around 3,300. If it goes below 3,300, only then one can look to exit. Else, I feel that it can go towards 4,500, 5,000 in coming time.
Okay, this question is for Balan. Balan's asking about a rapid fire question. Balan, that's still a ways to go. I'm going to take this to Gaurang right now. Gaurang, the question is on Thyrocare. He's holding at levels of 1,250, but he's wondering whether to shift out for the medium to long term to something like a Divi's Laboratories or a Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. I know that they're not exactly like-to-like comparisons, but what would you say about this option that he's considering?
I'm sorry, Alex, I had lost your audio in between Thyrocare and which is the other one?
So he's invested currently in Thyrocare and he's considering shifting to something like a Divi's Laboratories or maybe a Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. It's not a like-to-like, but should he consider doing this for the medium to long term?
Well, so we have coverage on Dr. Reddy's and Divi's, both of them. Thyrocare, I'm not too sure, but if you are in profits and if you have your appetite full with your investment in Thyrocare, and if you are looking for an alternative investment idea, then you can switch to either of the two, that is Divi's Laboratories and Dr. Reddy's. We have coverage on both.
All right, this one is from Marion Portman. What are the patterns visible in Bandhan Bank chart? I'm holding about 50 shares at 360 rupees per share. And how does it look technically for the next 3 years? Gaurav, will you be able to help Marion on this one on Bandhan Bank?
A single chart can have multiple patterns. It depends on who is looking at the chart and what is the approach. If I look at the daily or the weekly charts, then there's a very strong support at level, price action support at levels of 250 to 60, and we have seen strong bounces coming from those levels. So if one can hold on, and the time horizon is 2 or 3 years, and as I said, 250 to 60 is a stop loss. And if these levels are sustained, then levels of 425, 430 is what I would be expecting on a slightly shorter period, around 1 year, 1.5 years. Once we have a close above that, because then there will be a fresh breakout sort of about 425, 430, then we can play for higher targets of probably 515, 520. So in my opinion, it's a good stock for the time being. The supports are lower if you have bought. Good if you want to add at the current stage. I would say wait for a decline towards anywhere around 280, and then you can add. The stop loss for this will be 250.
Coming back to you on GNA Axles, and this is a question from Dhriti. She's asking whether to hold on. Her buy price is 810. The stock is currently at just above 750. Should she hold on?
Is this for me?
Yes, Gaurav, this is for you.
GNA Axles is a very, very critical area. Since COVID, or maybe I should say 2020, it has been sustaining above the levels of 100 EMA. Whenever it has touched those levels, it has given a bounce. Currently, the average is placed at 750. So my answer will be simple. If by 315 it is trading below 750, you exit, because on weekly charts there is chink in the armor already. There was a bearish pattern, we call as a bearish engulfing pattern. There's a confirmation of that as well. So at the time being, things are not looking that good. The immediate stop loss would be 750. If by 315, as I said, if it's trading below 750, please exit. If it sustains, then we can have a very strong bounce back in a very short span of time.
Okay, this one is from Dukes and needs analyst view on Airtel. Should I go ahead and buy or should I wait? What's your take, Gaurang? If someone is still waiting on the sidelines to enter Airtel, would you advise them to still wait it out, or they can go ahead and look to buy Airtel because long-term story looks intact?
Well, Cheryl, so long-term story definitely looks intact, and in fact, after the Q2 numbers, we were quite impressed by that, by the fact that going forward, ARPUs are going to move up north slowly and steadily. Now, I don't know whether this investor has a extremely low risk appetite, and that is why he or she is waiting out on the sideline. But if you have a low risk appetite, you can at least do something, that is invest maybe about 30, 40, 50% at current levels. And whenever market gives you an opportunity, you could definitely add to your investment. But waiting out could turn out to be a loss making proposition.
Okay, this one specifically for you, and viewer Sunil is asking me to ask you this question, Gaurang. This is on Krishna Diagnostics. I don't know if you have coverage. If you do, should he get in at the current level for the long term?
So if I am not mistaken, Alex, we had an IPO note on this one, and that was a long-term subscribe on the fundamental side, of course. So if this investor, this gentleman is looking out for long-term investment, he can definitely make an investment. But again, like I mentioned earlier, start at current levels and add on dips would be a perfect approach.
This next one is coming from Ujwal, and he wants a technical view on HDFC AMC. He's already holding some shares. He's not told me the quantum, the amount of shares that he's holding, but he said the buying price is 3,200 rupees per share. So he wants a stop loss and a target for HDFC AMC. Gaurav?
Like to look at the charts of HDFC AMC, I will say things are not looking good. On weekly charts, if you see, it's forming what we call as a double top pattern formation, and the trigger point, the confirmation is the neckline, which means that it makes a top, it comes down, and again sees a bounce. So from the level from where it gave a bounce, it is trading below that level as well, which was around 2,700. So I would say it's very risky holding this name. If somebody wants to, I still want to keep a stop loss, and maybe 2,500 is the next support area that one can look at. And I would not be in a position to give a target as such, because for me this is not a pattern to either buy or hold. But if this level of sustained, probably 2850, 2900 is what it should be going towards, and if that sustains, things can get better. But for timing, I would say if someone can exit with a small amount of loss, I think it's the right time to exit the stock at this stage.
I'm coming back to you, Gaurav, on the next one on the technicals on Vaibhav Global. Deepa points out that it has corrected quite significantly in the recent past, and she's thinking of adding at the current level. Should she do that?
When a stock corrects significantly, the only factor that one should be buying, because it has corrected, that's not the right approach. The immediate thing that one should be watching out, are there any divergences in terms of RSI, where in case the prices have fallen down but the RSI has not fallen down? I'm not seeing that sort of happening at this stage. It will be still sort of gamble. But if you look at the weekly charts, then 100 EMA support is placed at 540. So if somebody wants to take a risk, in my opinion, one should avoid. But if somebody has already made up a mind, then 540 can be the stop loss and you can buy. If this is sustained, then 10% bounce back cannot be ruled out. But in my opinion, one should wait for a confirmation, only then one can buy.
This one is from Kaushik, and he wants to know about Axis Bank for the medium term, especially after the recent correction that the counter has witnessed. What's your take, Gaurang? If Kaushik wants to invest in Axis Bank for the medium term, does it make sense? And if he's already invested in Axis Bank, does it make sense for him to stay put with it?
Instead of medium term, Cheryl, I think it is better to have an extended time horizon on banks. And we at Geojit believe that the long-term issue with gross and net NPA levels moving up north, provisioning moving up north, moratorium issue. Now all these things are a thing of the past, and with the resolutions that we are seeing, especially with the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, that is IBC, I think this should augur extremely well. And one of the reflections that we saw on some of the Q2 numbers for private as well as PSU banks was they have started to report lower gross and net NPA and write-backs in terms of provisioning. So instead of having a medium-term time horizon, I think it is better to have a long-term. We have a long-term buy call on Axis Bank.
Okay. Mr. Bissa, I'm coming to you on this next one. Paras Defense and Space Technologies. I do not know if you have a view, but we've got a viewer, Lakshman from Denmark, and he's asking whether to hold on. He's bought at levels of 860. Stock is currently just above 800, and he's got 150 shares. He's holding, and he's wondering whether to hold on for the next 6 months. Should he?
See, in my personal capacity or in my personal opinion, I would say I avoid stocks which witness circuits, whether upper circuit or lower circuit, because then once it goes against us, the exit becomes difficult. However, if he is holding, then the previous day's low, which is around 740, one can keep that as a stop loss and hold. The chart is still too small for me to come out with a very strong opinion as such, and it has been correcting a lot. It has formed what we call as a bullish piercing. The volume participation yesterday was quite interesting. So that is the reason I said one can keep a stop loss of 740 and hold. If that is sustained, then we can see a nice 10-12% upside coming in incoming.
All right, this next query that we have is from Sagar, and he wants a technical view. So this one is for you, Gaurav. He is saying that he's bought about 5,000 shares of BSE at 608 rupees per share. He is looking, he's actually looking at a target of around 1,800 to 2,000 rupees per share on BSE. So he's asking, is it possible in the next 3 to 4 months? What are the charts indicating for BSE? Do you think that they're indicating that they will reach 1,800 to 2,000 rupees per share mark anytime soon?
The half part of the question is very easy to answer, whether it will go to 1,800 or above. It looks very well set for that, because if you look at the kind of pattern it has formed, it's forming a continuation pattern. It's also forming what we call as a covenantal pattern formation yet to give a breakout. So once it gives a close above 1,500, then 1,800 will be within reach. It's difficult to say whether it will take 3 months, because the kind of move that we see in stocks like BSE, which once give a breakout, they move very fast. It can happen in 1 or 2 months also, or if there's a consolidation, it can take 4 or 5 months also. So in my opinion, play for the price which you are kept, which is around 1,800 and a little higher than that. You can keep that, but don't keep a speculation whether it will happen in 3 or 4 months. I think the kind of breakout it has seen, you can keep a stop loss at 1,300. If it gives a close below 1,300, it can have a prolonged consolidation. But if that is sustained, then I think 1,800 is within reach.
Okay, Gaurang, IEX is a counter that I think a lot of people have bet on at the start of the year, and it has rewarded shareholders. It had a bit of a blip, I think, in the recent past, but it has recovered significant amount of ground. We've got a viewer who is holding on at levels of 855. He bought it during the bonus share news. He's wondering whether he can average at the current level for the long term.
Well, so Alex, no specific coverage on IEX, but I'll give a word of advice over here in terms of the recent run up in some of the mid cap, small cap stocks. And whenever retail investors get invested at higher level, assuming that there is still more upside, but if the trend turns against you, then you need to be careful. And bonus is, of course, a trigger for a lot of long-term investors to get into stocks, because after announcing the bonus, there is attraction. Then comes the X bonus debt. Then you have the proportionate adjustment, and if the fundamentals are strong enough, the stock starts moving up again and comes to the bonus price. But these are all long-term, views that you have to take. Unfortunately, no specific comments on IEX.
All right, with that, we will kickstart the rapid fire segment. Gaurang, you are pretty familiar with it. For Gaurav, we will be actually bombarding you with questions from our viewers, and you need to keep your answers really short, buy, sell, hold, and maybe a short liner on your rationale for that. So let me kickstart this one, and with you itself for Gaurav. And this one is on Nitin Spinners. Chaitanya wants to know, does it make sense to enter Nitin Spinners at current market price for the short term?
In my opinion, one should wait for close about 305. In that case, you can buy, keep a 5% stop loss, pay for 10% target.
Mr. Bisa, coming back to you on HUL, we've got a viewer, Denny, who's bought at levels of 2640 and he's hoping for 3000. Should he hold with that in mind?
Definitely hold on monthly charts. It's trading above the kitchen level, so you can hold.
All right, this one is from Baz and he's saying that Varun Beverages for the next 5 to 6 years doesn't make sense to buy at current market price. What's your take on this one, Gaurang?
Well, no specific comments on this one, but my sense is IT, private sector banks and cements. These are the sectors that you should look at from long term.
With that in mind, Gaurang, would you say that Infosys is a good buy for the long term? This is from Ajish.
When was it not a good buy, Alex? Infosys, TCS, likes of HCL Tech and Tech Mahindra, and of course some of the mid-cap companies. I think anytime is great time to buy these kind of companies.
Okay, from Snehashish Gupta, and this one is for you, Gaurav, and asking about Indiabulls Real Estate, purchased 650 shares at 161 rupees per share. Does it make sense to hold on to this counter, and will it reach 215 to 220 rupees per share?
I would say hold on. Difficult to say whether it's going to reach it because a lot of reasons for something to move or not. But yes, chart structure is good. There's a breakout. Immediate target price of 225 is quite possible.
Gaurang, to your point on when was it not a good time, I can't say that because I can't give investment advice, which is why I have to give you that option to give the advice. But thank you so much for the time that you spent with us today, as well as Gaurav. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm sure that a lot of our viewers have benefited from it. All those viewers who've tuned in and have not got your questions answered today, do have patience with us. We'll be back tomorrow and we'll take as many as possible. We're slipping into a short break, but there's more on the other side, so do stay tuned.